Is Project Motor Racing worth playing for free? Well, by the end of this video, you are going to know, because right now, as I record this video, Project Motor Racing is free on Xbox. So I thought I'd give it a download and give it a go and let you know my very honest thoughts on what I don't like, what I do like, what can be improved, and at the end I'm going to let you know if I think it's worth it for free or how much I would pay for it. Now, I did review Project Motor Racing extensively at launch. Giants gave me a review code on PC. I did ask them at the time for a review code on console, but I never got one, and I always thought that might be because maybe it's a bit rough on console. So there's some elements here that I think are super rough. There's some things that I actually don't think are super rough. But firstly, my first impressions, this is my first race jumping in, so I downloaded the game, I selected like ultra hard settings, and I calibrated my stuff, and I jumped in. I'm on the Logitech G Pro, and it's absolutely horrendous. I'm thinking, oh my god, maybe the rumours are true, and this is just a joke of a game on console. I think people were getting refunds from this game on day one on console. However, and this is very, very, very weird, there's some kind of issue with my pedals. If you have a look at the bottom left and have a look at the inputs, you can see that it's essentially binary. It's on and off. Now, I'm pretty experienced at calibrating stuff. I calibrate on iRacing all the time, Le Mans Ultimate, Project Motor Racing on PC. I'm also a pretty decent driver in Project Motor Racing. I've played all the developers, I've raced the developers, and without blowing my trumpet too much, we did beat all of them. So I know what I'm doing, but for some reason here, the default calibration for me meant that my pedals were essentially binary. And that led to what I know is a terrible experience, because I know that, hang on, this is not a good experience at all. It's not as good as Project Motor Racing can be. So I had to increase my pedal saturation zone. I then went back to try and work out what was going on with the calibration. I think there might be some sort of delay in the calibration. You can even see with the steering wheel, you can never get it at 0%. You can never get your steering wheel straight in the visual thing. And also, when you want to get it at 90 degrees, it doesn't line up. The visual doesn't line up with your wheel, or my wheel anyway. I'm going to rotate it all the way around. You can see the little white stripe on my wheel in the face cam on the right is at the top, but on the image, it's not at the top. So I suspect there might be some kind of delay with the calibration. So if you're watching this and you've got Project Motor Racing, double check your inputs. Maybe they're not correct, and that might be why you're having a bad time, if you're having a bad time. Now, I recalibrated that. I jumped back into the same race. This is offline. I'm going to show you multiplayer. I'm going to show you all the rank stuff and all that kind of stuff later. But this is offline, and immediately about 1 billion times better. So now we can really talk about the game properly, I'd say. Firstly, the graphics, for me, not a problem. I think on YouTube they're probably going to get a bit softened at speed. YouTube does that, especially with the tarmac. But on my Xbox Series X, yeah, it's not the best looking game in the world. It's not actually even a good looking game. But for a racing simulator, that's not massively up my list of priorities. What's more up my list of priorities is having more than 15 AI opponents, to be honest. I'd rather have 30 AI opponents than better graphics. But you let me know. You let me know what's more important to you. So now we're driving a GT3. Why am I driving a GT3? Because that was the default car it's selected for me. And I'm driving it at Spa, which is where I like to drive GT3s. I don't think GT3s are the best cars to drive in this game. I don't know why Project Motor... Well, I do know. We're going to talk about this later. Project Motor Racing is kind of forced to suggest GT3s at you, even though I don't think this game was designed from the ground up with GT3s. I think it was designed for the historic stuff. We're going to drive hypercars, we're going to drive historics in this video, I'm going to cover all that kind of stuff. But this initial race, with the stuff calibrated correctly, was kind of fun. I then jumped into this Ford V8 supercar at Lime Rock Park, and that was also really fun. The AI is very uncompromising, but for me, it kind of works with this type of vehicle. So at Lime Rock Park, you can see I've got visual damage. My engineer is telling me to pull in. You know, the cars are going all over the place. It's not how the game was at launch. You know, the person I understand responsible for the AI at launch, in my opinion, has completely no idea how to make good AI in racing games. Like, racing games are not about what it might be like in reality to do this, because no one watching this video would be able to jump into one of these cars with no practice and drive like I'm driving now in reality. So the whole thing is an abstraction, the whole thing is a bit of a fantasy, and the AI need to be part of that. They need to make us feel like we're actually, you know, having fun racing and not just be some robots. But it looks like that person has been replaced. by the developer, and it looks like now we have some better AI that actually kind of races you. You can see there, that was some good fun battling and racing and kind of getting cut up and cutting people up. Right, now we go in the NGTs at not Silverstone, it is Northampton. I don't mind that much that the tracks the game comes with, some of them are unlicensed. You see that Viper, just ignore farm. I don't mind it too much. What annoys me and what concerns me is when paid DLC includes unlicensed tracks, like we saw with Tamima, which is actually Okayama, because I feel like you can't selling something unlicensed as a DLC just sits a bit differently to me, and I think it's going to confuse people. When you buy the game, you get what you're going to get. So here we are at Northampton. I've driven this circuit in real life in powerful cars. I know how it feels. We're going to come on to one of the biggest issues with Project Motor Racing. So, you know, we've recalibrated stuff. I'm okay with the graphics. The game is working. It's free. But we're going to get on to one of the more persistent issues that they need to fix, as we're going to go up to inside of the Porsche here. I like this race, by the way. I like the fact there's loads of different cars. Well, have a look at my line here. Over the curb. Track limits under investigation. Interestingly, did you see that Corvette also took a very similar line through the right-hander? So I'm not too happy about it. We have to slow down. I'm going to show you how to exploit penalties in this game as well. I may as well, because if we're going to talk about penalties, I may show you the ways to exploit them. So we let off there, no further action. Now, I have an issue with that because that causes essentially like manual super clipping. You know, like in Formula 1, there's a super clipping now, it's dangerous, you have different closing speeds. Well, actually, because you have to take your penalties like this, it means it's going to be massive different closing speeds and you're going to have more incidents. iRacing doesn't do this, it gives you instant points. You have a set amount, it's very visible in the black box, and you don't have to slow down, and it keeps everything moving. Project Motor Racing flashes a massive slowdown at you. This is going to cause chaos in a lot of races, whether that's offline or online. I like, by the way, how the Viper there has so much power down the straight. I like look at this line. Through Stowe. On the exit, under investigation, what's it going to be? No further action. But then we come in again here, just ride that curb. My right wheel's just on the right hand side of it, and this time we are going to get another penalty. Now, interestingly, I wanted to try this a little bit differently and see what happens. So you can see 23 seconds to give it up. It's flashing slow down to give back. I just think that's dangerous. I just think that's not a good way of doing it. Remember Gran Turismo, which is also, you know, which is the best console sim racing game in my opinion, that puts you into a slowdown zone and it ghosts you. Both of those are important because the fact it's a slowdown zone, everyone knows where you're going to take it, and because it ghosts you, there's no contact there. And I like that as a compromise. Now, if you want to go, oh, but you shouldn't have ghosting Project Motor Racing, I'm going to show you later. As I promised I'd tell you, I'm completely honest in my Project Motor Racing videos. Stuff I like, stuff I don't like. I know there's a hardcore group of the Project Motor Racing Revolutionary Guard Corps who are almost like, you know, religious in their defense on Project Motor Racing and willing to try and, I see my comments, I would say intimidate a lot of people who have valid questions about Project Motor Racing in the comments. Don't worry, I'm just telling you how it is. So again, we get another track limit there. We're not going to clear this over the line because the line's coming up. So let's see what happens. DQ. So we get DQ'd there. Which is a little bit hard. Actually, no, we don't get DQ, we get a 2-second penalty. I'll show you some DQs later. Now coming to by the way, I really enjoyed that race, and didn't it fly by? The 3 laps there kind of flew by for me. Now coming into Hypercars at Daytona. Another really interesting insight from myself for you here as well. But firstly, I don't mind the grid starts. If you do grid start here in Forza, you start on the banking and no one can start properly because all your tyres are falling off the banking here. That's why in the Daytona 200 they start in the pit lane, interestingly. That would be a nice touch if they started in the pit lane for grid starts. I don't mind the fact that there's no rolling starts, only grid starts, to be honest, because I prefer grid starts. If you see me do my Gran Turismo 7 streams, I'm always forcing grid starts. I find it more fun, more chaotic. Now, what's really interesting here in the Hypercars, a couple of things. First thing, you can... these are so easy to drive. These are too easy to drive. Remember, I started this game, I selected like the hardest setting, so give me the hardest one, the one right at the bottom. If this was Wolfenstein, I'd have like half a bullet of health. You know, that's what I want. but these cars are so easy to drive. You do not get punished by overdriving them. This is not how I remember it on PC at launch, when these cars were very difficult to drive. They had cold tyres. You can see my tyres are in a good window now. The bus stop here is going to be a great example of this. By the way, make sure to subscribe if you like these videos. Please leave a comment as well with your thoughts on what you've seen so far, but make sure to subscribe. Share these videos as well. It would be great to really see what people actually think about Project Motor Racing. Right, have a look at the bus stop here. I should spin there. I should probably spin there. And it just doesn't punish you, and we get a track limit. Even though I'm outside the bollards, we get a track limit because now it gives you a warning. So I remember when I was racing the developers before launch and the other streamers, and you know, we were self-policing that because the track limits were very forgiving as older. But the way they've kind of inverted commas tried to fix it is it just gives you the first one for free, which can also be massively exploited. That's not even the big exploit. That's one exploit. You can exploit the first one. Think of MOZA, for example. But coming in here, look, I should spin there, especially in the Valkyrie. Interesting, I'm behind another Valkyrie here, but I seem to be a lot slower down the straight, even though I'm all on default setup, which is a bit interesting. But again here, it doesn't punish me from going up and down the gears. They're really easy to drive. Do I have a problem with that? No. I want to make this really clear. I do not have a problem with this. I am playing on Xbox, okay? I assume the majority of players are going to be on controller. I know that the vast majority of players, way more than probably even you think, are never even going to touch online mode or ranked mode. I know that, and I'll show you later on. But this is a game on console designed for people who don't want to spend a huge amount of time tinkering, in my opinion. The average player. No, I'm not questioning that. There'll be plenty of players who do want to tinker, but those players are outnumbered by people who have a casual experience. The fact you can drive the hypercars like that, I think, is a plus for them. I went on to multiplayer. This is social. This is absolutely terrible. There are 5 players I can play with right now, because once other people are in a race or practice or qualifying, I can't join their session. So my pool of players and all of crossplay for Project Motor Racing is 5. Then we go into social. Sorry, that was lobbies. This is social. And it's even worse here for social. Like, I feel sorry for Project Motor Racing because it's just so depopulated. The next Mazda race in 3 minutes has 1 person in it, me. It's probably the least appealing thing in the world to sit here for 3 minutes and then race myself. To give it a fair shot, I did find the most populated one, which was that World Championship, where there's 3 people waiting for 6 hours looking at that screen, which is interesting. So they need to change all that. But I wanted to see ranked, so I had to do the license test again, which I've already done on PC, but I had to do it again here. I basically got bored and I tried to exploit stuff. So there's something about Project Motor Racing and the grass or dirt that pulls you. Now, I'm driving a Mazda MX-5 here. By the way, look at the track limits in this video. Absolutely insane. So I was basically trying to use the grass to see if you could help it pull you around. So if you use it on inside the corners, then it can actually help pull you. Now, I've driven a Mazda MX-5 in real life, and I've been off the circuit. I've taken too much curb, I've ended up in the dirt, and I've rejoined the track, I've grazed the barriers. I'll try and find the footage to show you on screen. So I know how MX-5s work off the racing line and when you get onto the dusty stuff. I know, trust me, I've done this in real life. Project Motor Racing, I don't know if it's farming sim or something, it obviously has this whole mechanic where you can mow the grass, which I absolutely love. I find it so addictive to mow edges of the circuit. I also love it in longer races to see what's happened off circuit. I find it fascinating. And I feel like, and this is a bit anecdotal, but I'd love if anyone can test this further, I feel like when you've mown the grass, it pulls you off less. So almost like the heavy grass pulls you off. But anyway, you have to do this license test. It's completely ridiculous. You learn nothing. You race against a guy who's really slow. You get bored. It doesn't teach you anything. Let's have a look here. Again, I feel like I'm inside that. I'm not all the outside of that white line. We get a track limit. When you've got a penalty, I feel like you can cut more corners, because I feel like that would have been another track limit. So, and then I experimented. So the previous one, I didn't fully erase it, and I only got 1 second. So this time I'm like, well, screw it. I'll just crack on then. Remember, this is a license test. This is teaching me everything I need to know about online racing and my expectations for online racing. So I'm like, okay, if I get a track limit, I'll just crack on. So now I view the slowdown thing as a bit optional, which is a bit counterintuitive, and we get 2 seconds. However, I've gained way more time by doing that than if I'd slowed down and tried to burn the 2 seconds on circuit. You can go back in the video and have a look at the previous penalty when I slowed down to try and burn the 2 seconds, what happened. So if you get a penalty from this license test, the best thing to do, we're going to get another one here? No. Or maybe, yeah, because I think, do I have a little moment? I have a little moment here. I save it, lose time, and get a penalty. So explain that one, aliens. But if you do get a penalty, the best thing I would say is, in this license test at least, is to crack on and maybe do some more Kernel Cuts as well while you're being investigated, because they can't investigate you more than once, it seems. Anyway, I completed the license test. It's a complete pain. They should do it a different way. Look at this. Only 9% of people have got the achievement for completing the license test. You need to race online. So 90% of people have not done this. So now we're going to talk about online racing in the video, and presumably all of you are going to leave the video because you're all interested in just single player. So I apologise. But now we've got the rank stuff. Really annoying feature. When you scroll, it tries to give you epilepsy. Why? Why does it try and do that little loading thing? Just put that on the side. It's the most annoying thing I've ever seen in my life. And unfortunately, Project Motor Racing is sprinkled with these super annoying things. It's so annoying. Anyway, I feel like I'm going to go in the most populated race. We're going to give Project Motor Racing the best shot. I love how there's so many liveries to choose from. I don't like the fact that they're like fake ones, but I love that there's so many default liveries. I want to give them a big shout out for this. It means that it feels varied when you're out on circuit. And they look like motorsport liveries. They look right as well. So it's not like, you know, Rennsport, for example, everyone's often in the default liveries. Le Mans Ultimate is a bit better because they're licensed, but there isn't as much variety in them. So I like what Project Motor Racing's done there. Big shout out. So we join this session. You have to look at a screen for ages. I just cut it short here to save you the time, because seemingly I respect your time more than Project Motor Racing. You then enter another countdown, which is like ridiculous. But again, I'm going to cut this short because I respect your time. So now we are in the pit lane, and I feel good. I've come on a journey on my free day with Project Motor Racing. I say free. When we say free, I'm a dad. I've got other stuff to do. I could be on Le Mans Ultimate. I could be on iRacing. I could be on Gran Turismo 7. I could be on ACC on Xbox. So when we say free, it's still an opportunity cost to our time. But like I said at the end, I'm going to let you know if I think this is worth it. So I start my qualifying lap, and there's traffic in the middle of the road, which my cat-like reflexes we managed to avoid. So it's qualifying now, and I'm loving it. It's a 21-player grid, so we've got more players than AI. It's cross-play. I feel like I'm repping Xbox a little bit. I'm in a car that I don't really know the characteristics of, but I feel like most other people are the same. We're in top split. Did you see, by the way, it said they're sorting splits? I felt really sorry for Project Motor Racing because they've obviously created a split sort of functionality that's just completely unneeded at the moment because only ever one split. Unfortunately, as we go up Eau Rouge, we get the track limit, which means that the current lap's invalidated. Completely my fault. Completely my fault. I should have backed off there knowing where I was on the out lap. However, I would say, out of the 21 people, only 5 people managed to complete a lap. And this is top split. I've never seen the like. So I fully blame myself for that. I should have done better, and I would have put it, I think, in top 3 or something like that. But anyway, we're going to start the race. So I'm sitting on the grid. I told him I'm just going to show you everything here. Just going to show you everything. Pros and cons. I like this. We got different. It's a spec. Well, it's not a spec racer because there's two. So I have in the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe I've got a terrible tune because I've kept everything stock. But at least there's different liveries on the grid. It gives people different characters. And I'm enjoying this. I like sitting on grids, whether it's in real life or in the sim. I like the grid ambience. You know, the crowd's there. Some of them are waving. I can hear engines revving. By the way, the radar, they should totally move up in the default view. It's too low. So, strap in. If you haven't liked the video yet, like the video right now because you're about to see some absolute chaos. Someone rolls back there. This car doesn't get going at all. Someone has to avoid something on the left-hand side. and again ends up in the grass, gets yeeted into the barrel left hand side. At last source, it's chaos. What's going on here? Someone gets absolutely yeeted again. This guy's still having the accident. Moments later, I try and get through there. You've got to keep it absolutely planted. Someone else is getting destroyed backwards there, having a movement. Someone else is rejoining here just before Eau Rouge. What is that? Radion. And we emerge. Someone just completely cut Eau Rouge there as well. Because the penalties, rate that star out of 10 for chaos in the comments. I checked the damage here because every other race I've done so far today, there's been damage on. But here it looks like there wasn't damage. And we come into Les Combes. And I'm enjoying this. We're up to P8. We've gained 1 billion positions. That was kind of fun. High stakes, very dangerous. And you can see a nice little attempt at a cutback there. We're going to have some fun in this race. It's a ranked race. It's top split. Now this is a bit cheeky, but I don't know where he was going there. I think, dare I say, we were entitled to the space at the apex, and we're going to try and put pressure on Galia09. In fact, I remember I put so much pressure on him here, I definitely forced him to outbrake. Like, I would just tailgate him, and he just goes off into he's going off into France there from Belgium. You can see people been mowing the grass on the inside, which I absolutely like. Michael comes through. I feel like I'll just let him through here. So I kind of want to try and follow people as well. Again, there's a yellow Porsche that's gone off circuit. And you can see that the way that the grass gets mowed, that's the big plus from the Farming Simulator engine. We lost VR. VR was sacrificed for the best grass physics in sim racing. As Michael's now inside Corsa. And this confused me because I didn't know whether I could also go inside Corsa. He's got a 15-second penalty, so presumably he's absolutely ended someone. Looks like he has a bit of damage as well on the bumper. Now, there was a sound effect there which made me realise, I can't go through him, but I don't really know what to do. We also get investigated for track limit in that situation, which is horrendously unfair. We're now inside him. Welcome to Project Motor Racing on console, everyone. And we're able to escape. And we're up to P6 at the end of lap 1, which is fantastic. Meanwhile, Jeffrey and Michael are going side by side here. The draw distance is pretty good as well. Have a look. There's going to be a car going up Eau Rouge, if I remember. Yep, just there. And 2 more. It's probably the whole pack. And then you can see the big crash ahead of us here. So I'm pretty, pretty happy with the graphics, to be honest. There's other stuff I'd sort out. I'd sort out all the quality of life. If you gave me one day, all this quality of life issues would be fixed. Okay, ranked racing. Are you actually going to do it? Well, this is what happened. So near the end of the race, LOGITECH just absolutely rams us with no penalty system. And in fact, we get investigated for track limits. Explain that one. Now, presumably because I've lost so much time, the stewards decide it would be, there'd be riots if they were to give me a penalty. And then something weird happens at the end of the race as well. I don't know if this is netcode, but I'm in P5 here, you can see, coming into the bus stop, and then we end up in P4. So I don't know what happened there. But I kind of enjoyed that race. I'll be honest, I enjoyed it. But am I going to spend... So, is this worth it for free? Yes. I would have even paid £10 for this. On this Sunday, I would have paid £10 for that enjoyment of driving different cars, 100%, and not feel guilty. I seriously mean that. That was good value for £10. We can have a different discussion about prices higher than that. However, am I repeatedly going to spend my time here over Gran Turismo or ACC or Le Mans Ultimate or iRacing? Unlikely. Unlikely. But you let me know what you think. This is not a sponsored video or propaganda from the Project Motor Racing Revolutionary Guard Corps. This is just an honest video from me showing you all the good and bad about Project Motor Racing. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.